Welcome to the stage. She's a professor of pluralist development economics at the Institute of Social Science here at Erasmus University. And she will be giving us a talk about the community economy as post-capitalism. So let's give a warm welcome to Irene. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have to apologize, I have a serious cold, so I hope I can make this to the end without coughing or sneezing. So the community economy as post-capitalism. I want to give here a positive message to all of you who are practitioners, that what you do is already building an alternative to our capitalist economy. But there's more. I'm an economist, I'm a pluralist economist, and of course as an economist I want to build on an alternative economic theory, an alternative economics, an alternative economic science that fits the real-world alternatives. However, it's a chicken and an egg issue. And in order to show you the huge problem that economists like me are confronted with, let me go very briefly over how the mainstream economic theory, the standard economic theory, actually supports the existing system and does not really support alternatives. For example, there is the famous mathematical proof, and I studied economics here at the university in the 1980s, so I learned this proof, by Arrow and Debrow, that free markets are the most efficient way to deliver goods and services. However, and that's between brackets, it's a very small note in the article, it assumes that everybody in a market has resources to trade. And of course, that's not really reflecting the real world. But in theory, it works. Second, economic institutions, they should support markets because markets can't work on their own. They need institutions. And recently, an interesting study was published by Katharina Pistor called The Code of Capital. She's a lawyer, and she actually uncovered the basic codes of capital, what enables capitalism to flourish through the legal system, so through the state. So also the state is geared towards supporting market expansion, market dominance, and not supporting all kinds of collective initiatives. Another point, the assumption that firms are owned by their shareholders. No, firms are owned by themselves. But even in the legal systems in the UK and in the US, it's embedded that the firm is owned by shareholders. No, shareholders provide risk-taking capital, but they don't own it. There's a wonderful book, if you're interested, by Lynn Stout, which is called The Shareholder Value Myth. Fourth example, the assumption that innovation comes from entrepreneurs. Well, work by Mariana Mazzucato, an English-American economist working in the UK. She has recently published several books about the entrepreneurial state, and that is the title of one of her books, showing that actually in the public sector, the preconditions are shaped for innovations, like the internet, or computer screens, touch screens, were not invented by Apple or Microsoft, but by the US Army. And by scientists at universities funded with public money. Okay, so there's this close link between the current capitalist economic system and the dominant economic theory that's being taught in the building here next door. Now, economic alternatives are bound by capitalism and its theory. For example, social impact bonds. They sound alternative, but actually they rely on capitalist principles. shift of public services to private investors for reasons of efficiency. Or think about the term natural capital for our trees, our nature. This terminology in capital, of course, implies that nature should generate returns on investment, because that's the key meaning of capital. Or B corporations. In the US, but also in the Netherlands, we have a couple of B Corps. They add social and environmental goals next to profit, so it's an add-on. It doesn't challenge the standard way of doing business. Universal basic income relies on profitable firms. Otherwise, where does the money come from? Taxing highly profitable firms. This is the case, for example, with the UBI in Alaska. Every family gets about $1,000 every year. And where does the money come from? Profits from the oil industry in Alaska. Airbnb and Uber. They turn household space into a new form of capital from which you can earn a return, and the U is largely the platform and the investors behind the platform. Finally, capitalism really got into our minds, our bodies, our hearts as a culture. Citizens are being regarded as clients. Debt tends to be regarded as a sin. You should always pay your debt. And a recent survey showed that about 50% of households only want to have solar panels on their roofs if they can make a net benefit. Whereas they don't have the same demand from having an old-fashioned heating system working on gas. Then we simply accept that that's an investment in the comfort of having a warm house. But when we think about investing in solar panels, 50% of households want to make a return on investment in financial terms. So let's move out of this constraining way of thinking. Step one towards post-capitalism is distinguishing the market from the capitalist market. And that is important because otherwise we fall into the trap that the only alternative to capitalism is kind of Soviet-like communism or state capitalism as in China. So let's distinguish the market in general. Markets have existed for thousands and thousands of years from the capitalist market. That's only recent, about 250 years. I rely here on key researchers, including Karl Marx. In a market, we have exchange for mutual benefit. It's basically this. Think about eBay and Marktplaats. In a capitalist market, there's unequal exchange based on capital hiring labor. It's never the case that labor hires capital. In the market, in general, we have a sequence from commodities, C, to money. You sell something, you earn some money, which allows you to buy another commodity, the other C, earning some money, and so on. So the chain starts with a good and ends with a good. Money is a means of exchange. In capitalism, it's the other way around. The whole chain serves the purpose of accumulation, of maximizing profits. So you start with money, you invest it in something to produce something to sell in order to get more money. And sometimes this is a physical good, and sometimes it's derivatives on financial markets. In the market, there is generally a wide variation of firms. Stock listed, family-owned, a wide variety non-profit firms as well. In capitalist markets, we have firms with external shareholders because that's deemed to be the idea of the most profitable type of firm. Finance in a general market is a servant of production and well-being. Of course we need finance, of course we need investment. But it's not an end in itself, whereas in capitalist markets, it's an end in itself. So that the exchange formula sometimes becomes M leads to more M leads to more M. You don't even need to make commodities. General Motors, you know, is supposed to earn money from selling cars. But when the financial crisis hit, it appeared that the majority of, the large part of their profits were made through financial markets, car loans, including car loans, not from making and selling cars. And finally, in the market, in general, there is a balance with the state and a community economy. But capitalist markets grow and grow and grow. So they dominate the market and they exploit the community economy. So step two. Step two towards post-capitalism is that we shrink the market and we make the state serve the community economy more than serve the market. Well, how to do that? The interesting thing is the activities that you employ in what I call the community economy is different from, distinct from the market and the state, are doing exactly this. They are shrinking the market. The community economy, with every new activity it undertakes, automatically reduces the capitalist market. For example, worker cooperatives. Capital and labor is one. So they don't go to the stock exchange. They don't add to the financial market. So if a stock-listed firm would become a cooperative, the stock exchange reduces, becomes smaller. Mutuals, and mutual financial firms like in insurance, for example, they reduce the capital market because the policy holders are also the owners. So it happens within that community rather than exchanges in an outside market. Wind energy associations, they reduce the demand in national energy markets because they generate their own energy. And of course the transport may be through a national network, but the energy itself is not sold and bought on the energy market. Community-supported agriculture and no market demand by consumers in the supermarket. No, they buy from their farm. And commons. They reduce various markets, land markets, labor markets, and or consumer markets. So, what about post-capitalist economic theory? Because that's what I started with. I'm a professor of economics, and I feel it as my responsibility to develop an economic theory that fits a new reality of a post-capitalist economy that is built on a community economy. So yes, I want to learn, I need to learn from the community economy, from you. What, how, and why. One way of doing this is revising key concepts, like efficiency. Efficiency is not a bad concept. It's an important concept for any economy. But the way efficiency has been conceptualized in mainstream economic theory goes against the principles of the community economy. Production, consumption, investment, price, cost. Let me give you a very small example of my own work, how I did this. I recently did some conceptual work using examples of the community economy in which I, to my own surprise, was able to redefine efficiency as resilience. Whereas in mainstream economics, the two are opposites. Why? Well, resilience includes buffers, and buffers tend to be inefficient in a lean and mean production system. However, they also provide a fallback during crisis. And when markets are volatile, you survive when you have buffers. Boundary institutions. They're considered in mainstream economics as constraints, but they may prevent systemic risk, as was shown by the financial crisis. And finally, diversity and inclusion in governance. It's not a luxury, it's not an add-on, it's not inefficient, but it expands the knowledge base in an organization. And I did some research on the Lehman Sisters hypothesis to support this point. So I come to my conclusion. The community economy is the basis of a post-capitalist economy, and learning from the community economy helps to build a post-capitalist economics, and in turn, a post-capitalist economics, kind of on the way, building that, may help to support real-world community economy activities with insights about, for example, efficiency as resilience. Thank you for your attention.